Hearing this, Tanglin Qingtian knew in his heart that denying was no longer useful, and blindly denying it was likely to be a disaster. Therefore, he can only cower and say, "Sir, I say everything. I was indeed sent by the Takahashi family, and they asked me to follow you all the way from Tokyo to here." Charlie asked again, "What is the plan of the Takahashi family? Do they want you to follow me like this?" Tanglin Qingtian hurriedly said, "No, Mr. Takahashi Maki meant that we should follow you first, and wait for his instructions. He is now negotiating cooperation with a big family from China, so he doesn't want to be out of the question, but wants to wait until after the cooperation is finished. Let us kill you then." Charlie nodded and asked, "What is the origin of you four ninjas?" Tanglin Qingtian said truthfully, "We are all members of the Tanglin family, and the Tanglin family is one of the major ninjutsu families in Japan." Charlie asked him with interest, "Since your family is a relatively large ninjutsu family in Japan, why should you follow the Takahashi family as running dogs?" Tanglin Qingtian hurriedly said, Actually, the main reason is that in the post-war years, ninjas and samurai have become less and less important. At the same time, the underworld is also rapidly rising, and they are equipped with very powerful heat weapon, so our living space is even smaller. In addition to being good at ninjutsu, the entire family has no other skills. It is not good at doing business and matching money, so it can only survive by attaching to the big family." Speaking of this, Tanglin Qingtian begged, "Sir, what I told you is all the truth, can you let me go?" Charlie smiled and said, "Don't worry, I still have questions to ask. You can leave after answering all of my questions." Tanglin Qingtian's mind turned slightly, and he asked, "Sir, can I turn around and talk? I'm so nervous with my back facing you like this." Charlie said calmly, "Yes, turn around." Tanglin Qingtian turned around slowly, and when he turned around, the shuriken in his hand had not been put down. At the same time, his toes slid gently on the ground, seemingly nothing unusual, but Charlie still noticed the other's intentions. Tanglin Qingtian's shoes are special ninja shoes, which are not only light and quiet, but more importantly, they hide a short-edged dagger in the sole. The short-edged switch is a slider with a special pattern on the sole. Normal walking and running will not trigger the shoe sole slider to eject the short blade. Only after the slider completes the S-shaped movement, will the short blade eject mechanism be triggered. This kind of weapon is very common in the era of cold weapons. Even in China 100 years ago, it was also a necessary hidden weapon for many people to walk the rivers and lakes. In many film and television works, this hidden weapon has also been shown, but the principle is not revealed. In fact, this S-shaped slider is equivalent to the simplest mechanical code. Others don't know how to trigger it, but the user himself knows it. Obviously, you can be surprised at any time. However, as the thermal weapon became more and more mature, this weapon gradually withdrew from the stage of history. But unexpectedly, Japanese ninjas are still in use. The moment he moved the sole of his shoe, he realized that this guy was preparing to unlock the short blade in the ninja shoe. Even, his toes have completed 80% of the entire S-shape. As long as they move 1 centimeter in the correct direction at the end, the short blade hidden in the sole will suddenly pierce from the toe. At this time, Tanglin Qingtian has made up his mind. Once he finds the right opportunity, he first uses the sword in his 2 hands to attract the other's attention. When Charlie's all attention is on the shuriken, he immediately uses the ninja shoes. The short blade launched an attack. At that time, the upper and lower sides and the 4 sharp blades will come out. As long as one of them stabs Charlie, Charlie will undoubtedly die. Although he explained that he should not kill him for the time being, he felt that Charlie had already threatened his life, and he did not care about Junji's instructions. The most important thing was to kill Charlie first. After matching up his mind, he began to attract Charlie's attention and said, "Sir, if you have any questions, just ask, I will answer truthfully." Charlie nodded and asked, "Are you 4 of you the strongest under Maki Takahashi?" "Yes." Charlie frowned, and said with a bit of contempt, "I don't think the 4 of you are really good at it. Isn't your skill just throwing knives? And you're dying." If you have this skill, in China, no one looks at performing arts on the streets, and you can't keep up with the heat if you eat shit. Feeling humiliated, Tenglin Qingtian blurted out, "Nonsense. My shuriken has always been accurate. Within 100 meters, the wings of flying flies can be cut off." Charlie smiled and said, "So powerful?" Tenglin Qingtian said sternly, "Of course. If you don't believe me, I can show you something." Charlie smiled contemptuously, "Come on, start your performance." Tenglin Qingtian gritted his teeth, realizing that the opportunity is coming, and sneered, "Okay. Then you are optimistic." After that, both hands suddenly shook, and the sword in both hands instantly pierced the air and dashed towards Charlie. Immediately afterwards, he rubbed his feet on the ground slightly, and the two short blades of his toes popped out instantly. Tenglin Qingtian didn't dare to delay half a minute, and immediately raised his foot and kicked Charlie. Charlie had already guarded his hand. A trace of contempt flashed between his brows. Immediately afterwards, he did not move. He just snapped two fingers with both hands, and then separated two invisible vigor, and slightly pushed the two shurikens that came straight to his door.